So, my thoughts. I have literally come to this cold, so I don't know the bigger context. There are some interesting ideas. Um, you start the beginning of my reading talked about the speed of reality being faster than the speed of light. And this, I think, encapsulates the challenge and maybe the nature of what I'm sort of seeing as a struggle here. What you appear to be considering or contemplating is, sort of as you mentioned in the beginning, life, life, the universe, and everything. Um, but in many ways, you are also attempting to take something that is conservatively multidimensional and define or describe it in terms of three dimensions. Reality, the concept of the speed of reality kind of embodies this, because that's taking, by definition, because speed is something measurable that travels between 2 points in three dimensions, because that's how we determine speed. So we're looking at something, reality must be something that can be contained within three dimensions for the speed of it to be able to be measurable. And then the fact that you're dealing with speed, we're dealing with the dimension of time, and an assumption that time is linear because that's how human beings perceive time. And all of this kind of gets you a little bit tripped up, I think. Uh, what is not evident to me in this 10-page section from the middle of this work is what your underlying thesis is. If you're going to explore big philosophical concepts, you basically have to tell a story about them. We live in a three-dimensional world, and grappling with great big universal multidimensional nonlinear subjective philosophical concepts requires that we tell a story about them. We put things together in story and analogy, and describe something that can maybe in some way sort of fit in with our practical day-to-day understanding, and at the same time pry that crack open a little bit and go, oh, if all of this is this, then oh, wait a minute, there's something bigger. In this chunk, I couldn't find a way in. I thought it was fascinating how you were in conversation with ChatGPT. Thought that was really fascinating, that seeing ChatGPT reflect back some of your ideas and your thoughts to you. I think what's needed, and it may be there in the work, my impression of what this is doing. You're taking the concept of funk, which for me has a very specific musical connotation. And from the little bit else that I've noticed and things that you've referenced in this, it seems like you are consciously using that. We're going to call whatever this ineffable thing is, this quality of music that is uniquely transcendent, and you're using that as the story. You're using that as the touchstone, and then saying, let's look at the entire universe. Let's look at all existence. Let's look at all of these great big questions and relate it to the funk. Let's relate it to something to this concept that people can have a direct, subjective experience of. And I think that's incredible. I think that's awesome. It's so important when you are sharing how your universe looks and hoping to get other people to maybe see things the way that you see them. Have to find some kind of a common language. There's always, reality is ultimately entirely subjective, and that's a whole other thing. But having a touchstone, having a reference that can bypass definitions. People may not be able to put words around what funk is, but you know it when you experience it. You know it when you're in the presence of it. And if that's what you're trying to do, if you're saying, I'm going to take this, I'm taking this experience, this thing that I'm assuming has deep, profound meaning for you, that this is a concept, funk is a concept around which you've been able to build out an understanding of what your reality looks like, then coming back to that is essential. You need to, you talk in many places about the funk not really kind of being definable, but I think you need to define it. I think you need to, for anyone else to be able to appreciate what it is that you're sharing, there needs to be a reasonably definable, reasonably objective touchstone of the funk, what funk is. And no, obviously, you can't define it because it is something that needs to be directly experienced, but it is then something that people can read your references, directly experience, and then that sets up the personal reference. That sets up the translation. That sets up when you talk about the funk, that I know what that means to me. That's not an abstract, that is something that I have an experience of. And I can't just, my experience of it's not yours. But we can pretend that there is common ground. We can pretend that there is a deeper level of shared experience. We can pretend that when you talk about the funk, that what you're talking about and what I'm thinking about, that there is a commonality, that we are each referring to our individual experiences of the same transcendent thing. We understand with language. If you want to be able to communicate effectively, you need to be able to speak the existing language. There were dozens of new words, new terms, new to me, presented in what I read. And again, I don't know how these are defined. I don't know how clearly they are explained in the previous 149 pages. But I would caution you that coming up with a new word to describe something is not always effective, because a word that people haven't heard before they've got no connection to it. And I appreciate that these words have deep, profound meaning to you. That when you say some of these words, you know exactly what you are conveying. But I don't, I can't appreciate what it is. I can't appreciate it without a lot more context, without a lot more specificity. And again, I'm looking at only one piece of this puzzle. What you've presented, the way that you have presented this, your thought process, your exploration, the back and forth with ChatGPT, the comments on Discord, I think that's a really interesting way of exploring these ideas. It's when this is ready to be presented, and based on these 10 pages, it doesn't, I don't see a clarity yet. I don't fully appreciate what you're trying to do. I appreciate the struggle. But I don't think, I think you're running in circles in a lot of areas. I think, and it's very easy to get lost when you're exploring these deeper philosophical realms. So I think when you have a clearer path, when there's a clearer through line, um, this way of presenting the material, bouncing between sort of your journals, your thoughts, and Chat GPT, love that convention. Love that as a way of presenting the information. It's fascinating. But I don't, in this section, I don't know where it was coming from, and I don't know where it's going, and I didn't get the sense that you knew. I'm willing to jump in and follow somebody taking me down a path of interesting ideas and unusual concepts, as long as I can, as long as I have a sense that even if I don't know where this is going, that you do. That you know there is a clear path, that there is a reason, that there is logic underlying this, because that structure is necessary. It is necessary because that is how you can take the things you know and present them in a way that other people can make sense of them. Um, it is the single most challenging thing in terms of writing or teaching. I mean, it's just, how do you get the things that you see so clearly? How can you get other people to see them, to understand them? And I know that particular struggle very well. I hope this helps, and thanks for inviting me to be a part of it.